Hello world, it is Monday, October 17th, 2022, and looking out the window at Defiance. Excuse me. Trying to be a nice day. It started out kind of overcast and a little bit of spitty rain this morning when I was out running, 42 degrees, and I think it's going to be relatively cool again today and tomorrow, and then I think later in the week, or maybe it's early next week, looking at a little bit of a warm-up. But definitely October weather. The devotion for today is entitled Answers Blown in the Whirlwind by Naomi Washington Leaphart. And Naomi bases the devotion upon Job chapter 38, verses 1 through 3, New Revised Standard Version. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. Who is this that darkness counsels by words without knowledge? Gird up your loins like a man. I will question you, and you shall declare to me. And then Naomi writes, let's be honest. The God of Job 38 must have skipped the class the day pastoral care was taught. After Job spent all that time, dozens of chapters, begging God and his community for a reasonable explanation for his suffering, God sidestepped the question. Instead, God cued the whirlwind and pulled receipts. Have you seen my work? Who's God here, you or me? For many people, God's speech to Job is unsatisfying at best and insulting at worst. Every time I read it, my gut reaction is ouch, followed by yikes, followed by what have you done for me lately, God? As we live through realities that seem to take us from grief to grief, we desperately crave a balm in this Gilead. We want soothing words and delicate touch, and we deserve them in the midst of our pain. But what I'm reluctantly and at times resentfully learning is that God's response isn't always pastoral, in a warm and fuzzy sense. God may instead give us hard-to-hear answers to questions we didn't ask. No human beings are not the center of this wild and unpredictable universe. No, our faithfulness does not guarantee us a life free from precarity. Yes, wounds are where the light can finally enter in, doing the tender work of showing us what James Baldwin called the doom and glory of knowing who you are. And we can only know who we are as we make ourselves vulnerable in community with others. Perhaps God's invitation to us when we are feeling most desperate is to look around at all of creation. We might be able to find solace in our collective struggle to stay hopeful and alive in a world filled with both beauty and pain. And Naomi's prayer. God, our pain often overwhelms us, and all we want is immediate relief. In the meantime, help us experience the comfort of connection in the ashes while we're waiting for the beauty to return. Amen. Well, a couple things this devotion made me think of is, first is understanding what the Bible is. And there's different thoughts and ideas. I mean, some people really truly believe that when the Bible has passages in it where it says God said, that they really believe that God said those things and somebody wrote them down. And others believe that the Bible is humanity just trying to make sense of their interaction with the divine. I think there's probably every one of us at one time or another have thought we heard God's word for us, whether it was literal words or just a thought or a prompt or something like that. But we certainly have felt that pull or call. But I don't remember ever distinctly just hearing a voice talking to me and saying, this is it, Jim, this is the message from God. So personally, I kind of feel like the Bible is more along the lines of people struggling with making sense of the divine, especially in books like Job, in which people are trying to struggle with things that happen to them in the world, because good stuff and bad stuff does happen. And is it brought by God? No. Is God present in the midst of that with us? All the time. But sometimes it feels like God's nowhere to be found. And yet that brings me to the other point that this devotion brought to me is finding God in community. That when we're in a struggling position, finding a way through that or being able to survive it often involves getting connected with someone, whether it's a professional counselor or just a confidant or someone you trust and love who can be there with you, not necessarily giving you answers, but just being present to you as God would be present to you, as God is present to you in those people. I suppose there's a lot more I could talk about in this devotion, but I think that's enough for today. So I hope you have a good day, and I hope to talk to you again tomorrow.